Greetings, fellow conquerors, this is Darkfire Slide, and welcome to another video where I ramble on about idea groups. Today, I'm going to be doing another question that somebody asked. Somebody asked, well, hey, you did religious versus humanist, could you do maritime versus naval ideas? When should you do those two? And honestly, I'm going to be talking mostly about something else in this video, because the decision is pretty simple. Basically, if you want to take an idea group to improve your Navy, take maritime ideas. Now, naval ideas does improve your fleet. It's, you get naval leader shock, galley combat ability, which is pretty nice. Naval leader fire, these are good. If you have the spare slot to get a naval leader. Prestige from naval battles is nothing because you hardly ever fight naval battles. Because usually if you have naval supremacy, the AI just runs away. Sailor recovery speed, who gives a flying ass fart. And then heavy ship combat ability is pretty huge, and morale of navies is pretty big as well. And then you get ship durability for finishing it. It's like, wow, that sounds pretty great. It improves your boats. Except it sucks, because by taking naval ideas, you're not taking quantity ideas. You're not taking offensive. You're not taking defensive or quality. You're not even taking aristocratic when you take naval ideas. And that's why naval ideas is so bad, basically. And like I said, if you have naval supremacy in this game, all it means is that the AI is just going to park their boats during a war, and there's nothing you can do unless you siege the province down and make their boats come out. And you might snipe a couple of them. Now, that being said, why is maritime ideas better? Well, we start out with yearly Navy tradition, which is okay, it's not great. National Sailors Modifier, which is plus 50%, which is way better than 20% recovery speed, because that means that the overall amount when you actually need to build boats is much higher. You then get global ship repair plus 20%, so your boats are fixing, 20% faster, which is amazing. You get naval force limit modifier plus 50%. Now, whether, which side, no matter which side of the argument you're on for quality versus quantity, 50% more trade ships is pretty nice. 50% more galleys, pretty good. You can trade more with those boats. You can actually make money off of them. It's pretty nice. Next, we have ship cost minus 10%, which, if you know anything about the cost mechanic, this not only reduces the initial cost, so this would go from 50 to 45 ducats, but it also reduces the maintenance, because maintenance is based on the base cost of the unit. So this reduces the cost of your ship significantly. It's amazing. You then get Naval Leader Maneuver plus 2, which makes your ships go faster, and it improves your trade. It's really good. Then you get Blockade Efficiency plus 50%, which is really nice. You can blockade provinces with fewer boats. And lastly, when you finish maritime ideas, ships can repair when in controlled sea zones. Or in coastal sea zones, rather, not controlled ones. So, when you finish maritime ideas, anytime your boats are near a coast, any sea zone touching a coast, they will repair every month. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. So, first of all, maritime ideas is just better, in my opinion. Even though naval ideas does make your boats better at fighting, this improves so many other aspects of your Navy, and most importantly, it improves your trade, which is really awesome. But it also helps a lot with the logistics of your boats. It helps with the costs. It helps repairing your boats as well. And it gives you more sailors to repair said boats. And as well, it's a diplomatic idea group. So if you don't want to take diplomatic ideas, if you don't want to take influence or trade ideas or exploration or espionage, then you could take maritime. If you're on the coast, it's a great idea. It's a good idea. And you don't spend a military idea group to do so your land army doesn't suffer as a result. So that's why you should take maritime ideas over naval ideas ever if you want to improve your Navy, in my opinion. Because you get trade out of it, you get cheaper boats, which saves you money on your Navy, which if you're going to have a big Navy, is going to be expensive. And apart from that, the only place I could ever recommend naval ideas is over here in Indochina, because a lot of this is heavily dependent on your naval combat. But even then, the 50% force limit from naval ideas or from maritime ideas is probably going to serve you a lot better. Now, what am I going to talk about in the rest of this video? Well, I want to talk about kind of how naval combat just isn't that important overall in EU4. And now there are some exceptions, like England obviously needs a navy, especially if they get cut off from Europe, or they're not going to be able to, do anything if they, if somebody tries to attack them, and then, it's game over. Same goes for like these areas in Indochina. Like obviously Brunei near here needs they need a navy because otherwise they can't do anything. And they also need boats just to like colonize and get people other places. So that being said, naval combat is not that important, and naval combat is not that important because if you can reach them by land, boats serve no purpose. If they have a bigger navy than you can just park your boats before the war and leave them there, and then crush their army, take over their land, and then come back and let your boats trade again. It doesn't really matter. And I want to compare this to a game like, Civ 5, for example. Civ 6 is coming up. I'm excited for it. And let's talk about how Civ 5's naval mechanics work. So in Civ 5, boats can actually attack cities. Frigates can actually bombard, towns and, help you capture them. And in this game, there's basically no mechanic like that. Like, you park a fleet of, like, heavy, galleons and frigates and stuff outside of a province, and all it does is just, it doesn't, like, reduce the siege time. It only makes it so that there's a blockade, so that it's the same speed as a normal siege. And that just sucks. It like helps improve the speed, but like it doesn't help you when you actually want to take over a province faster. And in my opinion, that shouldn't be that way. Like, heavy ships and frigates and even galleys, if they're firing explosive shells, they could take out a coastal fort. They could obliterate that sucker, right? Like they use the same cannons that you have in your army, so why shouldn't they be able to help out with a siege apart from just lowering the the blockade timer? That would actually make navies do something useful in this game, apart from just lowering the blockade modifier. And in my opinion, that would be so much better. That would make navies worthwhile in a way, because they would help with sieges. Naval Ideas. Maybe there could be something in Naval Ideas that makes ships, like, modifier towards sieges help. Like, that would be just so much better, in my opinion, than the current way that it's implemented, like, at present. And so, yeah, overall, take Maritime, not Naval Ideas, but remember that, most of all, Navy, it's not really that important. Light ships will make you some money, which is nice. But apart from that, you shouldn't worry about it too much. You should focus on your land army. Unless, like I said, you're England or another country that's basically just an island. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hoped it was informative, and I'll see you guys on the next one.